Well, welcome back, everyone, to another episode of College Hockey Talk. On today's episode of the podcast, I welcome incoming junior on the Adrian women's hockey team, Zoe Lohrei. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast today, Zoe, and how's everything going?
Thanks for having me. Just excited to be here.
Well, I'm excited to have you on, and obviously, you guys are in the middle of your off season. So, what has your off season been like so far? And do you have any plans this summer, whether it's hockey related or not?
Yeah, so our school ends end of April. So I went back to Wisconsin in May, which was super nice. Didn't have to work. But I every summer for as long as I can remember, I've been coming to Culver where I went to high school and I coach hockey here and train here. So that's been super nice. Teach skating classes and it's kids from all over the world, so it's really cool to see them like see the ice for the first time and teach them how to skate, like just the basics. Um, Other than that, like we skate every day. There's a good group of girls that skates here. They're going on to play college hockey. All went to Culver, and Culver's on a lake, so I can't really complain much. So it's nice to be here.
Are you more of a lake person than a beach person, I assume?
Absolutely, I love like the small town lake vibe. Like
Yeah,
I'm very into that.
it's a very Midwestern answer because I'm from the East Coast. I'm definitely more of a beach person, so.
Yeah, I'm starting to get used to the East Coast and starting to like it, but it's a little overwhelming for me. I like the like chillness.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
And listen, I know some places in the East Coast were very intense people, especially the driving, as you probably have come to learn. But I will say, like, I think we're more hard love people than maybe people in the Midwest are sort of like, you could see it more. But I think if you like get deep down, you see that we really care about each other here in the East Coast.
All right, I'm gonna try. I'll try to make an effort.
Well, in regards to your training, what have you been working on the most preparing for the upcoming season?
Yeah, I mean, I think something that's kind of all encompassing is just overall strength off the ice. That translates to so many things in the game, corner battles, shot, whatever. Even just I'm doing a lot of plyos, so like just increasing my speed. So that's been just a lot of it. A lot of the work has been off the ice, but it's always fun to get on the ice.
Now, I sort of want to start off this podcast like I always do, sort of talking about the beginning of your career and then working all the way up to where you are now. So, the research I did on yourself, it says that you're from Verona, Wisconsin. So, talk about growing up there and how did you start playing hockey?
Yeah, so it's sort of interesting. My dad was a semi-pro and college coach, so growing up, I was surrounded by hockey. I think it was kind of just a no-brainer. I was gonna play hockey. I have an older brother and an older sister. My older sister does not play hockey, but my older brother does. He just played at Ohio State, so I growing up, I would just watch him and whatever Mason was doing, I was doing, whether it was playing outside or even just going to the rink. I wanted to do that. So, um, played with the boys growing up. I was born in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, because my dad was coaching there. And then we ended up moving to Pennsylvania. And then I landed in Wisconsin when I was about 7. So that's sort of home base. It's been a great place. I grew up playing for the Capitals. I played for a local high school team there. Lots of fun. Then I decided to go to Culver.
Is there any hockey in Louisiana, if you can remember back at that time?
I have no idea, honestly. I was so young, but my dad coached a minor pro team there, so I guess there is.
At least there was. I don't remember any hockey in Louisiana. That's probably like the most desolate area for it. But I know they have a team in South
100%.
Carolina and some teams in Florida now. So I kind of want to see hockey grow more in the South. I think that'd be a lot of fun to get some college hockey teams
Absolutely.
too.
Get some Southern people to be hockey fans. I feel like it'd be great.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Who was your favorite player growing up? Who was like a team that you like to watch or players that you admired?
Um, when I was growing up, obviously like Sidney Crosby, but I loved watching Steven Stamkos. I just think his IQ is off the charts, and I mean his shot is insane. And it's funny when I came to Adrian, the only number that was available was 91. So I feel like I was just, whatever. I'm in Steven Stamkos. So
That's awesome. Yeah, I remember Steven Stamkos was my first non-Bruins jersey that I ever got, and I think that's why I always liked him a lot because I remember getting that for my birthday when I was 9 years old. So I think those Lightning jerseys are pretty sick, though.
that is awesome. Yeah, their jerseys are sick, and I mean, I kind of hopped on the bandwagon for a bit with the Lightning, but now I'm a Bruins fan now. So
Oh, awesome! I'm a big Bruins fan as well. So, welcome. It's a fun fan base to be a part of. We're definitely intense, but thank you so much for coming on.
it is very intense. My brother he signed with them, so we're sort of translating. It's been hard for my dad, but now he's trying to be a Bruins fan.
Yeah, no, I don't want to get off topic, but I was at development camp last week, and I thought he was one of the best players on the ice, and I feel like he definitely has a chance to make the NHL Cup this year. So hopefully that
Oh,
happens.
well, I'll have to let him know your thoughts.
I listen. I know I'm just a random fan, but I just want to let you know that. So
No, you're important to us.
awesome. Well, what's it sort of like growing up in a hockey family? Like, I know you said your older sister didn't play, but like, obviously having a brother, father. I don't know if your mom played at all, but what's it sort of like being in a hockey family? How's that? How do you guys sort of make each other better?
Yeah, I mean, just growing up, like, it's total hockey family. My sister worked at the concession stand at the rink, like, she was there all the time. My mom, one of the most athletic people ever, like, she is so competitive. She has just started playing pickleball and, like, it's yeah, it's very competitive for her. Um, and then my dad, obviously, with hockey. It's been great. I think that my family pushes me in all aspects, and not even hockey, but, like, learning about the game from them has taught me so many things about life that I just like I've translated so many things from the game to life that are so valuable, and I attribute all of that to my family. They've helped me so much.
I heard pickleball is the fastest growing sport in the U.S.
It must be because everyone I've been talking to, they're like, "Oh, I'm going to play pickleball," and I need to get into it. I need to get into it.
I even know how it looks, or like I've never done it before, but it seems a lot of fun. I heard though, like so many people are getting injured doing it just because it's like you work like so your muscles. And I remember hearing someone saying they went to the chiropractor and they said their business has been booming because so many people, like my dad's age, keep like hurting themselves playing pickleball.
That is funny. That's awesome. I mean, maybe pickleball will be, I don't even know, something super popular soon. I don't know.
I hope so, but just be careful if you play it. Don't injure yourself, and like
I know.
for other stuff too. So I know it's intense, but you gotta like rein it back a little bit sometimes. But before you went to Culver, you played with a few teams. You started off your youth career playing for the Madison Metro Lynx, and then you also played for the Madison Capitals. So just talk about your experiences there with both those teams before heading off to Culver.
Yeah. So obviously in Madison, I didn't really know who I wanted to play for. The Capitals are kind of the big team in town. But I ended up my freshman year of high school playing for the Metro Lynx, and it's just the local high school co-op. So girls from all different high schools. Um, and I ended up being the only freshman on the varsity team, and I had just a blast. Like the girls, obviously, super big age difference at that point because everyone's developing when you're in high school, but it was those girls were awesome. We had a blast, and I learned a lot. But I knew I wanted to take the next steps. So the next season, I decided to play for the Capitals. Honestly, I had great coaches, great time with the girls, but I wanted to. My parents really wanted me to attend Culver, and so that kind of just led me to Culver.
Yeah, and how did you get the opportunity to play with Culver, and how's that process work?
Yeah, so my dad for 32 years he ran the rink here in the summers. So I would, as long as I can remember, I've come here. And I knew that I wanted to go to winter school at some point, but Mason was here, my brother, and I saw how it worked, and I was like so scared of it. I was scared to leave home, everything. So I ended up my junior year of high school. I repeated my junior year. So there's a coach called his name is Brian Adolski, and he is the St. Cloud coach, women's. And he was actually coaching here. He coached here for a year, and he had gotten to know me, and he was the reason I came. He ended up leaving before I came, but I ended up with great coaching staff. I loved Culver to death.
Now, during your time, I guess, with Culver, what would you say was the best memory you have with that program?
Oh wow. My junior year, so my first year, it was hard to get people to come to our games. But I remember our last home game, I had just like a little squad on my team. There was 4 of us. We did everything together. And so we packed the rink and we were all out on the ice and we ended up winning in overtime. And it was the best time ever. We still talk about it to this day.
Did you score the OT winner, or was it one of your friends?
It was one of my friends.
Did you get the assist on it though? One of the secondary assists?
Maybe I did. You know what? Let's
All
just
right.
say I did. Let's say I
I'll
did.
say you did. That's good. That's good. Well, one of the things that sort of caught my eye during your time with Culver, you had to deal with some challenges due to the pandemic because it happened that season, or at least right in the towards the end of your high school career. So my question is, how did you sort of handle that challenge of playing through a pandemic and sort of trying to get better with so many restrictions and sort of a lot of times where you just didn't know when you would be on the ice just because all that stuff was restricted. And how do you think it sort of made you a better player throughout your development during that time of a lot of uncertainty?
Yeah, I mean, I think when we got sent home, my junior year, it was just, everyone, the whole world was like, what's going on? So, definitely finding different ways to strength train when you can't go to the gym. And I was super fortunate. I could go to the rink and the ice wasn't in, but I could work out, shoot pucks. So that was a nice escape from everything that was going on. But when we went back to Culver for my senior year, it was a total different place. But I will say Culver did it right. We were being tested twice a week to make sure we got to go to in-person classes. We got to travel still, skate every day. But something that I found super valuable through the process was um, being a leader throughout that. I was fortunate I got to be a leader on my team that year, and we really had to band together. There was nothing, I learned to rely on people. There was nothing you could really do alone because we were sort of all figuring it out together. So I think that I really developed leadership skills through that, but also just knowing that you have to rely on one another. And I think it brought our team so close.
Yeah, how did your time at Culver help prepare you for college hockey?
Well, there's a rink on campus, weights everywhere. You can't complain. And then our coaches were so dedicated for to be a prep school and be watching film all the time. And they treated it like a college hockey team, and that's just it prepared me when I went to school. I was like, wow, this is just about the same thing. And like the academics at Culver had prepared me so well, and I think anyone that has graduated from Culver would say the same.
So you initially committed and played for RIT. Talk about your recruiting process there and why did you choose to go there initially?
Yeah, so obviously we just talked about COVID. So my visit to RIT was actually 3 days before we got sent home for COVID. So I remember flying to RIT, checking it out, coming back. And I fell in love with the campus. Their facilities are off the charts. Have you been there?
I have not, no. It's a
Oh,
bit
you
far
you
away
gotta
in New
go.
York though. I've seen the team come to Holy Cross one time, so
Okay. Okay, yeah. So their rink is unreal. Weight room's great. And at the time the coach there, I really liked him. So things were good. I was excited. So I felt like RIT with their academics and just how much I liked the campus. I was ready to go there. So I ended up committing after I visited.
and you only played 20 games with RIT and then you left in the middle of the season. So talk about your time there and what you take away from those 20 games that you played.
Yeah, so well, I actually have an Instagram post about this. It's pretty deep down, but I went to RIT, there was a coaching change, and a lot of changes with the team. So I, went in, I was ready to go. Um, and when I decided to leave, it was halfway through the year and we were 0-20. Like we had not won a single game. And I was getting, 3 shifts a game. And it's really hard to get into stuff like that. And ultimately I to put it lightly, I was not fond of the coaching staff. And just I liked their ideas, but just I don't know, didn't really mesh well. Loved the girls, had such a great time with the girls. I still talk to them, still my best friends to this day. But just not the place for me.
Yeah. And that's sort of what my next question was going to be. Like, why did you decide to leave RIT? How do you sort of transfer in the middle of the year? And I guess what made Adrian the school for you to want to go to?
Yeah. So one of my best friends from junior year at Culver, she was a senior when I was a junior. She ended up going to Adrian, and throughout the process of me not really loving RIT, I would call her, we would talk, and she would tell me about her team and her coach and how much her coach interacts with the players and just how he is. So my coach now, Sean Skelly, is like off the charts. He's awesome. Can't say like or too many great things about him go to his head, but I think leaving RIT was a really hard decision for me just because I knew I was gonna have to make the jump from D1 to D3, and RIT is a lower level D1, so I was totally okay with it. And I think what people get stuck up on a lot is the image. Like, oh, she plays D1 hockey versus oh, she plays D3 hockey, and I think that that was hard for me to learn, and that was a maturing process for me. Um, and then deciding to go to Adrian was pretty easy. I visited. I wanted to be closer to Wisconsin, so can't complain about that. And I fell in love with the place. It's a small school. Love, we talked about it. I love the Midwest and like small
Yeah.
town vibes. So yeah, and then I just decided to go to Adrian.
Yeah, I don't know why people have this sort of stigma with Division 3 hockey because I feel like people don't realize it's just as hard to make it to Division 3 as it is to make it to Division 1. Like, I think it's 1% of players make it to Division 1, and then I think it's like 3 or 4% of players make it to Division 3. Like, if you look at most junior teams, like half the team is committed, and maybe 1 or 2 players are Division 1 commits, and then the rest of those commits are Division 3. So it's really hard. It's really good hockey. So I always try to get rid of that stigma with Division 3 because it's still very good, and sometimes Division 3 would be a better fit for some people than Division 1. Like for yourself, like I don't think it's worth playing 3 shifts a game, especially when you're not having a good time in college. Like you should go somewhere where you're having fun, and that's sort of my whole opinion has been on it. So hopefully, if this in any way can sort of get rid of that stigma, I hope this helps out a little bit with that.
Yeah, well, thank you. And people like you with your thoughts on that, like we need more of you.
Well, what was sort of the biggest adjustment you had to make to college hockey?
Honestly, bigger, stronger, faster. It sounds so basic, but it's so true. You're in the corners and these girls are strong, like not, and you're on the back check and you're like, "Oh, they're all passing me." Like, you just need to really commit to off ice training. I think especially before you go into freshman year. And then also you're just in a new environment. I think especially a lot of my friends, a lot of the freshmen on my team, like it's been an adjustment just because you're in a totally different place. You're training every day. A lot of people don't have that luxury. So yeah, just bigger, stronger, faster, more training.
Now, in your freshman year, your team made it all the way to the semifinals of the Slats Cup playoffs. What did you learn during your first playoff experience that you think helped you for your sophomore year?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, the second half of my freshman year was sort of a blur. I got thrown on this team, but towards the end, I really started to love it. And I think throughout playoffs, and I've realized this, this past year as well, it's you have to be selfless. It's not the time to care about anything. It's not the time to care about minutes, points, whatever. It's what you can do for the team, and I think it's just you have to band together. So I learned that.
What would you say was like the biggest improvement you made from your freshman year to your sophomore year? Because looking at the statistics, like you had a huge point jump, and it just seemed like you had a much better season offensively and defensively. So, what would you say was like the biggest improvement that sort of led to that jump between both those seasons?
Yeah, honestly, and it sounds kind of silly to say, but overall confidence. I think confidence is so underrated in college hockey, especially on the women's side. Just because if you have confidence, you're gonna play way better. And I attribute all of that to my coaches. I think even just I remember sitting down with my coach Skelly before I left from freshman year, and he was like, "If you get stronger, you're gonna be more confident." So that's when I started to really sort of hit the weights, but yeah, definitely confidence.
How do you sort of work on that? Because I feel like confidence, it's so hard to lose it. Like one play you can lose your whole entire confidence, and then it can take a few games for it to sort of come back. So how do you sort of work on that part of your game? Because I feel like you said, when you play with confidence, you're a much better player, just because you have that sort of edge. I feel like I'm just curious how you sort of work on that.
Yeah, and that was kind of my question when I left freshman year. But I sort of figured it out on my own. It's important to read a lot of books on like mental toughness. I think that that's what a lot of us lack in women's hockey is mental toughness. And if you are mentally tough, you can sort of shake that off. Like, okay, I had a bad shift. Like, stay confident. Like, you'll be good to go. So I read books. I really like David Goggins, if you know who he is.
Oh yeah, 4 a.m. like runs. I don't know if I could do that all stuff, but I definitely like his motivation for sure.
Yeah, so I always revert back to different books and stuff I've read and things he's said, so that really helps the confidence.
I have a Kobe Bryant's Mamba Mentality book. I feel like that's probably my favorite like mental toughness book, just because I think he has a lot of good life lessons in that, and I think that's sort of what made him a great basketball player.
Yeah, I'll have to read that. I haven't read that.
It's pretty good. The one my favorite story was when they were on the road in like Chicago somewhere, and like all the guys want to like party and stuff since they were on the road, and Kobe was just like, "All right, if you guys want to do that, then you gotta do it my way as well." So after they were all out partying, like at 4:30 in the morning, he like knocks on their door and makes them go to the gym and like work out, and they're like, "It's like we're not doing this again." He's like, we can't compromise what we're here to do, which is to win and be better basketball players. So I thought that was an
Yeah.
incredible story, but I think it's just crazy. Like someone is actually being serious, like knocks on their door at 4:30.
Yeah. That is insane. Okay, I'm definitely gonna have to read that. I'll order that.
Well, Adrian was one of the top teams in the country last season. How did you guys sort of maintain that consistency throughout the regular season? And then as you guys were getting better throughout the season, obviously the pressure is going to rise. So how did you guys sort of handle that pressure of being one of those top ranked teams with the target of your team's back?
Yeah, I mean, I we say it well, I say it all the time. Everyone wants to beat Adrian. It's the standard that we've set. And the reason is because our coaching staff puts so much effort into it, and they do it right. They know how to band a group of girls together. They know how to push all of us to our limit. Um, and just like the standard that they set every single day. Like we come to practice and we know what we have to do, and we have a lot of fun on the way. I'm making it kind of sound like, oh, it's so much work, but like we enjoy that work and we fell in love with the grind. So we love being a team that people want to play. So
Now, you guys won the NCHA tournament last season. What was it like winning that championship for the team, but also for yourself? Because you went through a lot just to get to Adrian, and it sort of must have been sort of a nice, like, sort of like, oh, like I did all the right things to sort of get to where I am today.
yeah, absolutely. I think like we had faced a little bit of adversity prior to the tournament, just with we lost a couple games. Our team had a very good year this year, but it's important to like also know how to lose and learn from that. So in that process, I think it was so special for our team, and we won Slats Cup at home, which is always the best feeling. Don't have to travel. And for me personally, it was sort of a relief in a way because we knew how good we were and we knew we were gonna win, but it was just a matter of like we need to capitalize on our opportunities and hone into the details and really do it. And for me personally, it was great. Like my parents both came, and it's it's awesome. You get to hold the trophy, take a picture with your parents, so can't really beat those feelings.
Do you get a ring for it, or you don't?
No, so I mean, we personally don't. There was another team that won the
Oh, that
year
did.
before.
Aren't
Yeah,
they
they did.
expensive? I assume.
Oh, I would assume so, but yeah, we want a ring when we win the whole thing. So
All right, that makes sense. I would just say, like, like I would want to have it just for bragging rights in the house, just to show it off once in a while.
yeah, exactly.
You played in the tournament as well against Hamilton. You guys lost that game 2-0. What did you learn from your first tournament game against a good
Yeah,
Hamilton team?
I know. I still have nightmares about that, but I actually just worked a USA hockey camp with one of my closest friends. She plays on Hamilton, so I have been hearing about this for a while. But I think in the game, it's so important to hone in on every little detail, and our coaches stress that to us, and I think that we sort of underestimated that. Like, capitalize on every opportunity to score, like put it in the back of the net, get the puck out on the wall. Like, there's just so many simple things, and I think that our team, we played well, but it just like we were close, but not close enough, you know.
Yeah, obviously. And how do you think you're sort of going to use that game up for next season, you think? So when you're in those situations, like, like what it takes to sort of like get on top.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's gonna haunt us for a while, but just realizing the little details are so important. Like, just honing in on that stuff in practice, and that's all of like our coaches, our leaders. It's important that we hold the standard. And so we're excited to do that, and excited to see where our season takes us.
Well, what are your team's goals and expectations for next season? Obviously, it's to win a national championship, but anything else on your team's radar that you want to accomplish that fans might not be aware of?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously we always want to win it all, but focusing, especially this year, on the process of that is going to be so important. But we're going to hold our standard. We're going to keep our standard, Adrian. We're going to be one of the best teams in the country. We plan on being one of them, if not the best. And we're going to have a young team this year. I think we're getting a lot of new girls in. We lost a lot of veterans, so it's gonna be important that we just hold the standard and show them the ropes when they get in, and we'll be hit the ground running.
Have you met any of the new players yet?
We've texted and things just
Hmm.
via social media. I haven't met any of them in person, but I will be in about a month, so I'm excited.
And obviously, you're going to be an upperclassman now. Pretty crazy to believe how time flies by. What type of leadership are you going to try to bring to the team? Like you said, having a younger team, being one of the older players. How do you sort of like? Are you more of a vocal leader, lead by example type of player? I'm just curious how your sort of leadership will be like for next year, and how do you sort of want to help those young freshmen out?
Yeah, so what I have learned in college is how important leadership is on a team. So I think for me, I kind of like sway the line of like, oh, I'm very vocal, or like I'm just gonna lead by example, and I think that all um goes into like who on our team is a leader, and what sort of leadership do we need to fill. So we have two great captains this year wearing the C's, and one of them pretty vocal, the other one like leads by example, like no one's business. And I think that they have a great like little system going. So I just want to be there for the girls, make connections with them, and know that they should know that I care. But also they should know that I want to push them, and our other leaders are going to push me. So it's exciting.
So we're now in everyone's favorite segment, the non-hockey segment, where I ask you some non-hockey questions just to get to know you a little bit more off the ice. First one is, what music do you like to listen to?
I am always playing country music. There is nothing else playing. I don't know. My friends get annoyed, but it's always country. So
I listen. I never really listened to any country music, not because I didn't like it, just because I just never really heard it. But I feel like it's starting to become more mainstream, and I've started to listen to it more.
yeah, it is. Do you like have a favorite country artist?
A big Thomas Rhett and Morgan Wallen guy. I know that's a bit very casual answer, but those guys make some really good songs, and I like Tennessee Fan by Morgan Wallen. That's one of my favorite country songs, just because I'm a
That
big
that is
sports
a good
guy,
one.
and I think he does a good job mixing in sports with music, which I like a lot.
I agree. I agree with you.
Who's your favorite country artist?
Oh boy, I love Zach Bryan. For when I'm just like chill, but definitely Morgan Wallen. Can't complain. Luke
Mhm.
Combs. Like, honestly, if I could say everyone, I would say everyone. But yeah,
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I definitely like country. I would say I'm also into like other genres of music as well, like hip hop, rock, pop, like whatever mood I'm in, I sort of just go to that. So that's sort of what
yeah.
my vibe is always like.
I like that though. Variety. I wish I was like that. I can't do it.
I don't know how people can listen to one specific genre of music. I feel like it gets boring after a while.
I'm like, it never gets boring.
Well, good for you, because I need to switch it up sometimes. So Definitely with you on that. But I feel like, are there other people on the team that like are into other music? So how do you sort of like handle that in the locker room?
I mean, it's always a battle. I'm like, let's go, ladies, play country. But I can dance, whatever, get some energy to anything. But definitely, I'm starting to get a lot of the girls on the country train, so it's
That's
been
good.
good.
That's good. Which teammate would you say is the would you not want to play the Ox in the locker
Oh boy. Definitely Carmen Anderson.
room?
She was the one that went to Culver with me. This girl will listen to the same song on repeat like 20 times in a row. She wants everyone else to hear it. So definitely Carmen.
What is your most embarrassing hockey moment?
Oh God. Um, so I my freshman year, actually before we played in playoffs, we had a pregame skate and we were gonna play Aurora, one of our rivals. And Skelly, my coach, came up to me and he had asked me if I was ready to go. I was like, "Oh yeah," and I picked up the puck and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna do the Michigan tonight," like as a joke, because I mean, I would love to, but I'm not gonna whip that out in a game. Um, and he was standing there. Obviously, he doesn't wear a helmet, and I did the Michigan. Puck went straight to his head. And so he had a big lump. So I had to go buy him some Tim Hortons to make him feel better. But that was definitely really embarrassing. All the like vets were dying laughing. I was crying. I felt so bad. Still,
Yeah.
I mean, still to this day, I cringe thinking about it.
Well, hopefully he doesn't like hold any grudges with that. I feel like at some point you got. I feel like I would move on from that, but I'll definitely sort of like make you feel bad for it, like
Oh,
just as a
oh,
joke.
yeah, he loves to joke about it, but yeah, he's gotten over it. He got over it pretty quickly.
Now I do have to ask this since you mentioned it: Tim Hortons or Dunkin' Donuts?
Ooh, Tim Hortons all the way. I love it.
Well, if you're gonna be in Boston, you gotta get used to Dunkin' because they're all around. I feel like there's no Tim Hortons here, so.
I know there's none. It's the worst. I'm like, I can't go to Dunkin'.
Oh,
I
you
just,
you got it's the best. What are you talking about?
you know what? I like their coffee, but sometimes it tastes just like it's so on and off. And then Tim Hortons is just always on, so I'm like, it's Tim Hortons.
I will say, like yesterday, I was wearing a Pats sweatshirt, like carrying my Dunkin'. I looked like the most Boston person of all time. So I definitely gotta tone that down maybe a little bit.
That's awesome. So East Coast.
I know. I would say my most embarrassing hockey moment was during squirts. The goalie, forgot to close the door for the bench, and we're doing backward skating drills, and I fell inside the bench, which was tough. But luckily, there's no footage of that, so you can sort of.
Oh, we need the footage.
I don't think it was like 2000 like 14, so who knows if
So
there was
sad.
even cameras, but yeah, that was definitely a tough moment for me. Um, what who has the best style on the Adrian women's hockey team besides yourself? I feel like you probably have the best style, but who would you say outside yourself is the
Thank
best?
you. Thank you. I take pride in that, but there'd be a couple girls that disagree. I mean, so I read this question. I did have to think about this. So I have two answers on the ice. My line mate Callie Wolschlager, great shot, like so sick, looks great. And then off the ice, my friend Tia LaSalle, she was a freshman last year, and she just always shows up to the games, and everyone is like, "Wow, you look great." So
I know you know this, but College Hockey Talk does best outfits of the week. I don't know. I haven't seen Adrian post that stuff, but I'd like to see you get featured on that at one point this season.
yeah, absolutely. You know what? I'll talk to our media girl.
Because the top 10 list for best off the ice style for both men's and women's, I think would say is probably one of the most competitive lists to make it on. If I know it might be biased, but I feel like it might be up there.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, I definitely need to get in on that then.
I don't know. I don't know if Mason made it on it once. I feel like he might have. I know some Ohio. I think he might have honestly gotten it
Maybe
once.
he did with the sunglasses.
So I feel like you got to beat him on that.
Oh, I will.
Uh, what is the most interesting thing you've read or seen this week?
Yeah, so my boss at work, he's a coach at Culver, and he gave me just like the first chapter of a book, and I'm gonna order the book, but it's called Legacy by James Kerr, and it's about this rugby team called the All Blacks, so like a famous rugby team, and it talks all about culture, and literally I've already learned like it talks about a lot in the first 20 pages, like, you're never too important to do the little things, that have to be done, so I think it's important, especially as an upperclassman, to remember that.
Honestly, I haven't really seen too many interesting things that have caught my eye. The news has been sort of depressing lately. I would say probably, oh, I don't know, probably like NHL free agency. I thought that was pretty
Yeah.
interesting.
That stuff is crazy.
Yeah, that's fun. I think that's probably the hardest part about being a pro player is you just never know what's going to happen with all that stuff, and it's a lot of it's out of your control. So, but
Yeah, and it's such a business, like, it's yeah, I wouldn't be able to do it.
yeah, I don't know. I do as a fan though. I do find it interesting. I would say probably like I don't know, probably that stuff. I think DeBrincat getting traded to the Red Wings and then him signing was probably the most interesting move to me because I think Detroit's trying to go for it, but also sort of get their young players involved. So I think that's sort of been the most interesting part. And then seeing some of the cap-related moves that hadn't been made with Tampa trading Pat Maroon to the Wild and all that stuff, and just I think I find that like whole like GM stuff very interesting, like how the cap works and like how they sort of have to finance and all that. I think it's pretty interesting to me.
See, you find that stuff interesting. I honestly find it so confusing. I would love to understand it, but I'm like, "Oh, like, cap?" Like, like, I just
Yeah.
but it is really cool, but it's gotta be very stressful for everyone involved.
Oh yeah, I do think it's pretty cool. Like I would love to have like Kyle Dubas on the pod and just I could talk like an hour about the cap and all that's how salaries work, and it would be the most boring podcast for some people, but I would find it very fascinating.
I feel like no, a lot of people would find that interesting. We gotta make that happen then.
I don't know. I think Don Sweeney played for Harvard, so maybe if he's listening, he can come on the pod at some point. So, uh, if you could have lunch with anyone in the world, who would it be and why?
I mentioned him before, David Goggins, I think he is so fascinating and just sitting down, I think it would be such a motivating lunch. I mean, I'd probably get a salad or something, but I I would be like just so entranced, like it would be very cool. How about
Uh,
you?
Tom Brady for sure. Just sort of how he like wasn't the most highly touted like player heading into the NFL, and he sort of took his opportunity and became one of the best football players of all time. Like, I just think that's awesome, and it's just sort of inspiring for me because I think it just shows like it doesn't matter like you don't have to be like considered the I don't know how to describe it. Sort of like it doesn't matter where you're picked or like sort of matter where like if someone gives you an opportunity, you sort of just have to take it and make the most out of it. And I just find it super inspiring. So for anyone listening, like if you like people don't believe in you, just gotta prove them wrong, and that's sort of what Tom Brady did, and I think that's awesome.
Yeah, that is awesome. He is very interesting.
Yeah, I would say maybe like football. Tom's interesting. I don't know what he's doing off the field now, but
Yeah, just his story's interesting.
but if you could have next last non-hockey question is if there was a movie made about your life, who would you want to play yourself and why?
Oh wow. A movie about myself. Like, okay, honestly, I think Blake Lively is the coolest person ever, like, just the way that she acts and stuff, so her or Jennifer Aniston, they could both play me.
I would say it would be pretty awesome if Ryan Reynolds could play me in a movie. I know we look nothing alike, but I would totally brag to people that he played me in a movie. I would say maybe I would say Tom Cruise. I think he is a good. I like all of his movies that he does, so I'll probably go with him.
Yeah, those are good ones.
I guess we have one more non-hockey question that I just thought was interesting. What's the most underrated holiday and what's the most overrated holiday in your opinion?
Most underrated, Thanksgiving. I think Thanksgiving is the best day of the year. I don't know, just you get to get together with your family and eat food, like, there's nothing better than that to me. Overrated, Halloween. I think Halloween is just, like, people spend too much money on costumes and it doesn't matter that much, but, I mean, it's fun, don't get me wrong, but it's totally overrated.
Oh yeah, I get you with that. I would say with Halloween at least, I like trick or treating. That was like the best part about it, and now you can't do that anymore as an adult. So that's probably that's why I don't think Halloween is as fun. I think it's mostly for kids than adults. I think adults try to make it as fun as it is. It's like you want an excuse to dress up and just go to a party, which makes sense. I would say the most overrated for me is New Year's Day or Eve. I'd say New Year's Eve, just because you're just waiting for a clock to turn midnight, and then it's like, yeah, and then that's it. There's really nothing to it. And then the most underrated, I would say, is like 4th of July, maybe. I think that's a fun one. Or Christmas Eve, one of those like I feel like those are pretty underrated.
Yeah, okay, 4th of July. Those are really good answers, actually. I agree with the New Year's thing, and 4th of July is great too. So that's up there too with Thanksgiving.
This past year, 4th of July kind of sucked though. The weather was awful. I don't know like what it was like in Wisconsin, but it's been raining so much here, so it wasn't as fun as it normally is. But when it's sunny out, it's usually a fun holiday.
Yeah, we were here at Culver at the lake, so it was nice, but it would rain for a little bit. So my friends and I would watch the weather, and then we would go on the lake, and then we would get off the lake, and then it would rain again. So it was kind of just a little game, but it tons of fun.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Now, getting back to some hockey questions now. If what advice sort of would you give younger players on what what it takes to be a college hockey player? I know what you said, sort of doing what you think is right. So I'm curious to hear from your experience. What advice would you give sort of the younger players on advice on what it takes to be a college hockey player and like sort of just advice in general on being a being a student athlete as well.
Yeah, I think something super undervalued, or I mean underrated maybe, is being in love with the game. I know it sounds so basic, but I think if you're doing it for the right reasons because you love the sport, it's never gonna stray you wrong if you work hard, embrace the grind, and love the game. I always say it like you can always the only things you can control is your effort and your attitude. So just focusing on your effort and your attitude, things will work out for you.
What should be done to help grow women's hockey from your perspective?
I think the like women's hockey in general needs to grow. And actually last week when I was working this USA hockey camp, it was so sad. It was just a multi-district camp, but bunch of 11, 12, 13-year-old girls, and we sat and we asked, "Who is your favorite women's hockey player?" And a lot of these girls didn't know. They couldn't name a single women's hockey player. And we had a couple like Hillary Knights, but
Yeah.
I just think like one, women's hockey obviously needs more funding, but two, like just people need to invest like interest in it as well. So, I mean, I think it's growing now, but just to continue that is gonna be important.
I honestly think the best way to grow it right now is with the college level, just because the pro game seems to be sort of like kind of craziness right now. So I feel like the best way to grow is with the college game, and I just feel like they're not creative enough. Like, why don't you try to put the Frozen Four maybe in a AHL or NHL rink where people who like want to go can go and it's like easy to get to? Why don't you try to do different non-conference games as well? Why don't you just try different things, promote it? Because I feel like women's college basketball did that a little bit last year, and you saw like how many people actually watched that national championship game, and like people know who like Caitlin Clark is, and she's not even a pro basketball player. And I feel like if you do that with college hockey, then I think that will generate more interest with the sport, but then it will also translate to the pro game and help that grow as well. So that's sort of what I feel like needs to be done, is sort of getting top end college hockey players and women's to sort of be more recognized outside of just people who watch the sport.
Yeah, I love that. I think you've got the right idea.
Now, do you have any shout outs you want to give to any of your family members, friends, teammates, and who should we have on the podcast next?
Shout outs. I don't really have any shout outs, but I was thinking we need to get my friend Megan McKay on the podcast. She plays at Mercyhurst, and she's a very interesting girl. We got to get her
Awesome.
on here.
I'll definitely reach out to see what happens. But Zoe, I just want to say thanks so much for coming on the pod. I really appreciate your time. It means so much to myself. I think you're a great player, but an even better person. So I just want to let you know that. And I can't wait to see you play next season with Adrian and hopefully win a D3 national championship. I think you're definitely capable of that. So, but I appreciate your time, and it was a pleasure getting the chance to talk and meet with you today.
Yeah, thank you for having me, and have a great rest of your day. Also, you gotta give the Midwest a chance.
I know I'm an East Coast guy. It's hard, but I would say maybe the same thing to you. Maybe try to give the East Coast a chance when you're out here and try Dunkin' Donuts a little bit and just enjoy the vibe a little bit because I feel like you would like it a lot.
I will for sure. Well, thank you.